Quentin, what are the circumstances of the organization of this Martin Parr exhibition?
We decided to work with Martin on this show 2 years ago. I had this idea of trying to do what I would call a serious show about Martin's work, and this is what I proposed him to do. And we decided that to work together closely with also his French dealer, Clémentine de la Ferronnière, who took part in the selection of the images, on several chapters, themes that I had proposed to him that are dealing directly or indirectly with environmental changes, and the fact that in fact since the late 70s his work has been addressing these issues in the Occidental world, and so that was the beginning of our discussion, and the fact that we worked together for, let's say, a year and a half on the show, exchanging, doing the selections of all the 170 works that are included in the show together with Clémentine, and talking about how we would organize the show in these 5 different chapters. And I think that at the very beginning he was slightly reluctant because he didn't want to appear as probably a more concerned photographer than he was. He definitely didn't want to be seen as a whistleblower or someone that he was not. But you know, I think that in the last interviews, in the interviews of the last 15 years, he was more and more inclined to talk about climate changes, environmental issues, where our world was going, and the fact that he was more and more inclined to maybe to see or to reveal the serious aspect in his work, not to be taken only as a humorist, but to be able to show that behind, of course, the laughter, there's also a kind of serious and a real critical dimension in his images. He loved the word critical. He always said that he was a documentary photographer, but he loved the word critical and to criticize and divert also.
But when you decide to organize a serious exhibition, what do you avoid? What kind of photos you don't want to be part of the show?
Well, I thought there was some things, there was maybe a lighter touch in his work, something that was more about a kind of British eccentricity that maybe didn't exactly fit in the show. This is why it's not a real retrospective. It's a retrospective glance on his work, but it's not a retrospective in terms of there are some aspects of his work that are completely overlooked or not studied in this exhibition. But yet we wanted to focus on some aspects of his work that are central to his work. The fact that he's been working for 15 years for 50 years on our Civilisation des Loisirs, Leisure Society, but nevertheless there are also some aspects, including maybe some images that were done in England and in the British Isles that are not represented here. Having said this, I think it gives a rather good vision of the core of his work since the late 70s.
What did Martin Parr invented?
Well, I think he invented an approach which is both very popular and in a way very serious in terms of the documentation, the fact that he's a documentary photographer. I think he was very, very, I would say, alert in the way that he managed to blend together or to put together different influences.
Like what?
One of a straight, I would say, documentary photographer, kind of tradition coming from color photography that was coming from the United States. The fact that he looked closely at amateur photography, that was also central to his practice, flash and blurry images, and that he managed to put everything together and to invent from all these elements in his own style, which is both which is a very direct style and a style that can be grasped and understood by people from very different backgrounds and with very different knowledges of history of photography. In a way, you don't need any knowledge of the history of photography to understand the Martin Parr image. There's something very immediate in the way. He was completely aware that, you know, in our world which is saturated with images, you only have maybe half a second to convince your spectator, your reader, and to attract and to grasp the attention. And yet, behind this, there's something rather serious, profound, and you can also have a close and long look at these images. They're full of small details. So you have, I think, these two different readings.
That's interesting.
Something which can be read immediately, and yet when you go deeper...
Let's take an example around.
Let's take an example. One that is, I think, works very well, which is one of the early image of the Last Resort series.
Thank you.
So this is something that he did in 83-85, which is his first series, his first major series in color that he did in New Brighton, which was that seaside resort, very popular seaside resort near Liverpool. So it's an image which is a humoristic one at first glance, you know, very, very simple, constructed. And yet, you know, it's a seaside resort, but it's an image that is also constructed, if you look closely, as a crime scene. You know, it's a crime scene. There's a corpse.
That's true.
There's a corpse. There's someone, a child who is maybe... There's the weapon. There's someone who is missing. You even have the shoes here. So it's a real mix of something...
Two kind of images.
Yeah, two kind of images within one, a daily activity which is shot as a crime scene.
And also it shows that people are dreaming of sun and they are able to lie down anywhere to have sun.
And the absurdity is why did she choose that spot? You probably have other spots that would be far more convenient to sunbathe.
But he didn't ask the lady to stay here.
But he didn't stage anything, you know, he had that ability of being unnoticed and of taking these photos. So that's the point, you know, there are many different readings of...
And the corpus of his work is gigantic, no?
And the corpus of his work is gigantic. He has worked for more than 50 years.
So to pick photos is something difficult.
Yes, in fact, he had done already a first selection of what he calls his archive, which is...
He had done that?
Well, yes, thanks to Magnum, you know, there's an archive of, I would say, maybe 50,000 images that he considers his best images, but still from these 50,000 images, you need to pick 170 and
So how did you shrink?
How did we shrink? We shrink through the sections, through the themes that we had decided to deal with. We decided that we wanted to have a real coverage of all his career, you know, starting with early black and white of the late 70s, but also putting some very recent images. You have here one from 17, you have here one from 24, to show the scope and the fact that he had been, you know, dealing with this subject for more than 50 years. So
and was he repeating himself?
He was not repeating himself because the world was always changing and the world is always changing. So he had his obsession and he loved obsession and he loved people with obsessions.
And what was a good photo for him, you think?
A good photo was, as I was saying, something that was both, that you could grasp immediately, that you could feel, you understand, that you would, that would get your attention immediately, and yet that, if you looked at it closely, could be read and needed further readings
For example, this one is super famous, right?
This one is, yeah, so that's yeah.
And why is it good, you think?
Why is it good? Because it's simple, obvious. There's a great, immediacy in the way
The colors.
with the colors, the different blues. It's both slightly cool and
yes,
and
the lipstick is not
yes, and,
perfect.
yeah, and you have that impression that you're being, as a spectator, that you're almost a voyeur, is very close, there's a kind of voyeuristic, and in fact at that time he was getting sometimes very close to the people he would photograph, which was less true in recent years.
Because we don't know on what side he is. Is it on the side of the lady, because in fact no one takes photos of this kind of woman, mm-hmm. or is he on the critical side of people who could be ugly?
It's both, because he always said one of my favorite themes or subjects is beach, and I'm a beach lover, even if I don't swim. So he would always say that he was definitely not someone who wanted to give lessons, but that he was always including himself.
But is he criticizing?
He's criticizing, but he's criticizing also himself, and he's criticizing art.
Because he was part of the crowd.
He was completely part of the problem. He always say that he had a horrible carbon footprint, that he was always on planes, etc., so that in a way he was participating in the problem that he was documenting and photographing, so that he didn't want to give any lessons, but yet he was criticizing our ways of living and some aspects, not all aspects, but some aspects of our societies.
And all that happened when he just died. This show, I mean.
Oh, this show, yes. I think in the last year he was probably, maybe because of his illness, maybe because he was maybe more and more concerned about the world we're living, and about how we read his images, and about the fact that he didn't want to be taken only as a humorist, that he wanted to bring forward the seriousness.
So this is his testament?
This is not really his testament, because there are many different readings and many possible readings of Martin's work, but I think it is one of the readings that he was really interested in recent years.
But it's dramatic in a way.
It is.
They are dramatic, I mean, the fact that you are organizing the show when he just died.
Yeah, it's true. And of course, I wished he was here, not only because I wished he was here as an artist and as a photographer and as a human being, but also because I really don't want this exhibition to be taken as a retrospective, or as a testimony. It's one of the many possible readings of Martin's work.
Yes.
It's a mere reading that, as I was saying, he was really interested in recent years, but it's not the only possible reading.
Merci, monsieur.